All right, guys, welcome back to the Rooted Conversations podcast. I am your host, Mitch Webb, and today we got a very special guest. We got Joe Cusamano. He is it Heel Flip?
Yeah, it's HealFlip, but
Yeah,
it's heel. Yeah, it's HealFlip. It's all just one thing, but
yeah. Well, tell us about it, because since I've already botched it.
yeah, no, it's it kind of comes from my love of skateboarding. Honestly, I've been a skateboarder my entire life, but I also um, everything that I thought was going to help me heal was the exact opposite, and it
Oh my
was like
God.
flipped. So it just kind of naturally kind of fit. I don't know if you were we were connected when I had my other business called the Healing Dudes with my friend Josh. He kind of left and split, and then when he left, I needed a new name for the company that I run and the coaching and support that I do. And I just it just kind of came to me, honestly. And it made sense with everything being flipped on its head and like
Yeah.
flipping the script on your healing journey to be empowered on your healing journey versus in that victim mode, and so many different ways of going about healing that are completely opposite of what I thought and what a lot of people think, is actually going to lead to healing. So that's where the name comes from.
Bro, the people listening along cannot see the cheese out expression on my face when you said it's the exact opposite, because that's been
Yeah.
my experience too. Me and Joe have so much in common from our healing journeys. It's kind of crazy as I've been diving in them. And that's where I want to start. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about the things that helped and worked. We're going to see what it's like to flip it on its head and give you guys
Yeah.
some takeaway action items. But I feel like we got to kind of start from the beginning. And what led to the symptoms? What was that like? What were you dealing with?
So I originally got sick back in 2005 when I was dealing with hundreds of symptoms. I was in college. I'm 42 years old now, so I've been dealing with this for like 20 years, 20 plus years, ups and downs of chronic illness and symptoms. And at that time, like I didn't know what was going on. I was seeing doctor after doctor, and getting nowhere. At first, I tried to like ignore everything that was going on. I came up, obviously as a skater, as someone who was like into sports a ton. So like injuries, illness was never an issue. I'd never thought about it. If I got injured, I would like, skate or play sports hurt. Or if I got like a cold or a virus, it was just like nothing. But when I started getting like all of these uncomfortable, scary symptoms like heart issues and, terrible DPDR, depersonalization, vertigo, gut health issues. I was getting like panic attacks and all of these things. And I'm like, what is going on? Along with like crazy headaches and chronic fatigue and pain and all of this stuff. I kept trying to ignore it, and then it got to the point where I couldn't ignore it. And then I was like worried that I was dying. Had to basically stop going to school, like drop out of college. And I started seeing all these doctors and just kept getting the runaround, the runaround, like, I'm not really sure. Nothing's really wrong. Try an antidepressant. This might be just psychosomatic all in your head, blah, blah, blah. And then, eventually I started seeing other doctors who are like, all right, I can kind of see something's going on wrong with you, neurologists and things like that. And even heart doctors, because like my heart was like great. It would be like resting heart rate at like 120, and like my blood pressure would be like 160 over 120, and they'd be like, what, like I don't know what's. And I so there was like a lot of signs where doctors are like, okay, there's some stuff going wrong, but I don't know, it could just be weird. And then eventually, after like 6 8 months of just like laying in bed, trying to feel better, barely eating, barely doing anything. I eventually saw like a neurologist, was like, all right, she ran the right Lyme tests and stuff like that, and got a positive diagnosis. But she was just like, I don't know how to treat that, so good luck, you know. And yet and that's when I started seeing a Lyme specialist, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get better in like a few months now, and I'll just
Yeah,
go back to school.
Eureka! We found the magic bullet here.
Yeah, exactly. That was like just the beginning of it though, you know? So I like started antibiotics, and um I do remember like maybe within like the first month, I actually started feeling a little bit better. Like I actually started getting some energy and some symptoms started getting a little bit better. And I was like, oh shit, maybe this is working. Um, and that just progress just halted. And then
Do you think like I know from my journey much later on I can observe this where if I had something that I thought would work, it almost be like a placebo type thing.
yeah,
I'd get really excited. I'd benefit for like a week or two, and then the symptoms would come back, and there'd be all this shame or
yeah.
because I got excited about it. Do you think the antibiotics were helping, or do you think it was more of like a placebo type thing?
It could be just a placebo. With what I know now, I think it probably was part of it. Like, I thought doctors were like, "Hey, take these. It's going to help you." That's the thing. It's a placebo. It's like, okay, yeah, it is going to help you. It shifts your energy. You stop focusing. I stopped focusing on how bad I felt. I stopped focusing on my symptoms, and I was more optimistic. And that possibly just led to a reduction of symptoms. Um, and what I know now, it most likely was the case. But then, yeah,
Think about it, dude. You took the pressure off of yourself.
yeah,
Maybe you quit scanning so much.
yep,
You started to be excited. Maybe
yep,
have some gratitude. Like all
yeah,
those things, that's what we know does make us feel better. But we
exactly.
want something medical, and we've been trained to trust the authorities and the doctors, not trust our bodies.
Yeah, exactly. And that is truthfully, I think really what happened is that I just, yeah, I kind of let go a little bit and I trusted what was, yeah. But then, obviously that didn't last. Um, and then I went down the rabbit holes like everyone does, like you did, like I did, like pretty much everyone with chronic illness, you start going down the rabbit holes. It's like, okay, well, I'm not getting better anymore. Maybe there's something else, or maybe I need to do a different combination of treatments. And, at that time, the only answers were found through like forums and like on the internet. And then I'm only listening to people that are sick. I'm only talking to people that are sick. I'm only listening to people that are sick. And even doctors, like, they're not really giving me the best answers, even though I'm seeing some of the best like Lyme specialists in the world. They're just like throwing darts at a wall. And when things don't, resolve, they're like, maybe it's this, and then maybe it's that, and then you start going down. Oh, is it retroviruses? Is it mold? Do you have those, the MTHFR gene, or do you
Yeah.
have, you
Let's
know,
sync with your DNA and
yeah,
figure out what polymorphisms you have, and
yeah,
then test for
yeah,
like just for that. It's
yeah,
crazy.
exactly. So then it was just, I was getting the runaround. Then it was like Eastern medicine doctors and it was holistic practitioners. And it was like, okay, let me try like, these weird shamanic thing, whatever.
Putting
These,
stuff up your butt, take it,
yeah,
doing.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah,
Oh,
for
dude, I
real.
did
Like,
lots of suppository stuff, and
yeah,
coffee enemas was
I
a
I used to do
huge
coffee
thing to do.
enemas.
Big time.
Yeah, yeah, I used to
Coffee
do all
enemas.
that.
Did you do crazy detoxes?
Yeah, yeah, I did all these crazy detox protocols. I went to these wellness centers to do these like IV drips of like these detox protocols and spent like thousands of dollars. They didn't help one bit.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and so eventually it was like I wasn't getting anywhere and I felt defeated. And I was like, I don't, this was like years into my journey of like these ups and downs of like where I would start feeling maybe a little bit better and then it would just go nowhere, and then it would try something else and it would just go nowhere. And yeah, then it was I stumbled upon, Joe Dispenza's work maybe around 2008 because he was in the Secret. I don't know if you ever seen The Secret.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. So that was like opened my eyes just a little bit to maybe there's something that I'm not doing that I don't even understand. And maybe there's things that I'm doing that are keeping me sick. And that's where I started with like the mindset piece. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like this opened my eyes. Like maybe my mindset's just been so negative. And it has been, like it had been. I was sick for years. All I focused on was getting better and trying to heal and, woe is me and victim mentality and, I became a hypochondriac and stressed and worried about my symptoms all day and everything like that. And that was like the first thing that like made me awake to this type of healing. I was like, there's something here. It makes sense to me. I'm gonna dive into this a little bit more. And so that's when I shifted my focus a little bit. I was still trying to treat Lyme. I was still seeing doctors, but I was kind of like half the time, all right, I'm going to do my journaling. I'm going to do my affirmations. I'm going to do some EFT. I'm going to do some visualization. I'm going to shift my mindset. And then the other half of the time was like, I'm a sick person. I need to go see this doctor. So it was like this wrestling and this tug of war,
Yeah.
that was going on.
It's like I see in my head like these two identities.
Yeah.
You're looking for answers. You want somebody. It almost I wanted somebody to believe me that I was sick and
Yeah.
understand how much pain I was in, because before that I just felt like shit and nobody believed me. And then
Yeah.
now I've got this identity and this diagnosis that I am attached to, and I've
Yeah.
got this other part of me that's like, hey, let go. You can heal your body. Trust me.
Yeah.
And it feels like a kind of a tug of war.
It is. It's a really a tug of war, and it's something that I struggle with. I think everyone struggles with it until they finally there's a point where you finally let go and break free. And that was something that I had to go through. It came, maybe a year or so into doing some of this type of work. I was spending all this time, I was spending time like, meditating, visualizing, like, but sitting at home doing this. Like I was living in my house, my mom's house. I dropped out of college. I wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't working. I was trying to heal. I was focusing on healing in multiple ways. I was seeing the doctors. I was going to the wellness centers, yet I was doing this like mindset, mind body work. I didn't even know necessarily what I was doing at the time because it was like law of attraction, manifestation stuff at that point. It wasn't like, there wasn't like, hey, this is neuroplasticity, this is, nervous system stuff. It was just like, hey, I know this is like energy. I started diving into like the energy aspect of like your thoughts and your beliefs and all that. And it made sense. But I wasn't really quite getting anywhere. It was like it shifted my focus a bit and it helped me to feel better in ways about feeling sick, but I wasn't really seeing all of this amazing improvement. And then eventually a couple things happened. Um,
Did,
one,
did the spinal fluid come up your spine and hit your brain, and you just
oh no,
magically healed?
I didn't have well, maybe I did. I don't know. The Kundalini awakening type of deal that people talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't, I don't think that was the case, but
I
I,
turned it into that. And for the
okay.
audience, Joe Dispenza teaches a
Yeah.
breathing technique where you're
Yeah.
bringing spinal fluid from the base of your spine
Yeah.
up into your brain. There's supposed to be this big white light. You could call it Kundalini rising from, I think, yoga or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think there's a lot of good things from Joe. Where
Yeah.
my OCD got into it is trying to create this
Yeah.
massive event,
Yeah.
that I was waiting for this spontaneous healing, which kind of sounds like you're very, as I'm thinking about it and knowing a little bit about you, is like you're waiting for a cure for Lyme. It kind of feels
Yeah.
like
Exactly. And the same thing that happens, it happens with people in this world too, whether it's brain retraining, nervous system practices, everyone's looking, people shift from, okay, I'm not looking for that cure anymore in the form of a pill or a doctor, but I am looking for that magic program or that, like you said, that event that happens where it's just like spontaneous remission or healing, or maybe something that only takes a month or two, or things like that. And a lot of people will lead you down that path too. And even, I don't some there's some not well-meaning people in this space that's what they do to sell a program, is like, oh, I have the answers,
oh, dude,
whatever. Yeah.
it's and for the listeners, it takes fucking time,
Yeah,
and
it takes
nobody
time.
wants to hear that.
Yeah.
No, I hear Helmet talking about 3 years, and I get people coming to me going, "Hey, I heard Helmet, and he said 3 years. Like, tell me something different." And part of that, what I tell people to kind of talk them off the ledge is a little bit. It's like, hey, it's not a death ride
Yeah.
for three
Yeah. For
years.
3 years and then you're just magically well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's little moments
Yeah.
along the way, glimmers, whatever you want to call them, that let you know, like, oh shit, I'm healing, and that's where
Hmm.
it's so good to have someone that's been there, and
Yep.
you don't know if you hadn't been there. But back to your story with like the whole
Yeah.
identity thing. Um, that seems like it's like we find that identity, and then we're like, oh, I got it, and we find our people. We got the doctors and the visits, and
Yeah.
we're really kind of cementing ourselves into stuckness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because this is confirming my diagnosis. This is who I am. These are my people. This is how I'm going to get better. I heard you say one thing that I didn't realize I had done as well, but like attaching ourselves to the Lyme group,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then saying like, no, I used to go on a bunch of podcasts with Lyme. I used to follow them on social media.
Yeah.
I've started unfollowing them.
Yeah.
Talk about how the diagnosis can become our identity and how letting go of that is such a powerful thing.
Yeah. That ties into exactly what I wanted to kind of go with this too, because there was some big shifts on my journey that finally led me to heal. And a big part of it was letting go, surrendering attachments to these labels and these diagnoses. Like I forget where I learned this, but I started reading a lot of like more spiritual texts because my mind was awake to this. So I started reading like, the power of now and like Eckhart Tolle, books and, those type of things. And I started recognizing that I was still attached to the chronic illness, Lyme disease, and I was still holding on to it. And there were still some behaviors that I was doing. Like again, I was talking to my sick friends, my Lymies. I was Googling, I was still searching on forums, I was still identified, and I would still like on my social media feed at the time, it was like Facebook and like MySpace or whatever, just Lyme, 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 Lyme. And that was unintentionally keeping me chained to the chronic illness.
Yeah.
And I
It
had
becomes like
this,
this
yeah,
bubble that we live in, and that's all
yeah,
we see and know. And so,
yeah,
why would your body, your brain, your nervous system want to change if that's all it is?
yeah, exactly. And I had this realization. I don't know exactly. I mean, again, this was 2008, 2000. It was probably like 2009 at this point. I recognized I got to make some changes and divert my attention away from I'm a limey, I'm a sick person. I need to heal this
Yeah.
to living better with the chronic illness
Yes.
and focusing on more like healthy things that were going to lead me in the direction of health. I came across some texts on like psychology textbooks on like things like acceptance and commitment therapy, which is what I really subscribe to. Because
Yeah.
back then there was nothing about the nervous system, brain retraining. It was psychology. It was, how to overcome anxiety and depersonalization and these things. And I just used it for chronic illness as well, and it helped. I um but I realized, like you asked, like I realized that I was still identifying as a chronic illness person, and there was a huge shift that happened. It was like maybe a year and a half into kind of coexisting with trying to heal using pills, treatments, and then also diving into this type of mind body mindset work. This Joe Dispenza type stuff, and I realized that I needed to just let go and start living. It was like kind of like this mentality of like I'm tired of waiting around to live my life. I'm tired of, I was like, I became fed up with myself, with the chronic illness, letting it control my daily actions. And I made kind of like a vow to myself. I was like, I'm letting go of all of this. I'm getting out of all of the forums. I am detaching. I'm stopping. I'm going to stop looking about it at this stuff. And I'm going to start moving forward in life, regardless. Regardless if I heal, if I don't, wherever I'm at with my life, I've realized these symptoms are not going to kill me. It was like 3+ years at that point, 3, 4 years at that point. If they were going to kill me, they were going to kill me. If they
Yep.
weren't going to kill me, so I might as well just get on with it, get on with life, and redirect my attention and focus towards life and living again better with the chronic illness and symptoms. And that was the shift that ultimately led me to a full recovery, and that's sort of the premise of like ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, is like accept where you're at, accept the situation as it is, not that it's going to be this forever, but like this is, you can't control it. Like you can't, no matter how hard you try to get rid of it, focus on it, kill, treat, whatever, it's like it's there. Like you got to make peace with it. And then move forward. Just start living, acting on values, acting on life, do the right things and just let go. Like letting go is such a big part of it. And ultimately, that's, yeah, about a year or two after that, I began to, well, I started making shifts early, like right after that. But about a year or two later, I was like completely free of symptoms, chronic illness, back to living a full, healthy life, working, getting my degree in college again. And it was like the chronic illness and Lyme was like a distant memory.
Dude, so for the listeners, I want to pause right here because
Yeah,
this is such a big piece. You know, he calls it the shift that got
yeah,
him out of illness. And he talks about how focusing on the illness, like focusing on symptoms, making healing all that we do
yeah,
is that's what's keeping us stuck. That is not, it feels productive. It feels like, yeah, man, I'm going to do the perfect diet. I'm going to take the perfect
yeah,
supplements. I'm going to have the perfect doctor. Somebody's going to create a cure. I'm going to work my ass off, right? I'm going to push through. It's funny how that kind of tracks back to sports as well.
yeah,
We kind of learn that early. Rub some dirt on it and keep going. But really, the thing that allows us to heal is going inside instead of looking for something out here to heal me. You're the medicine.
yeah,
It comes from inside. Everybody that I've interviewed on this podcast, and even myself, a year ago is when this happened for me. I did the
yeah,
exact same thing. When I started, I was telling Joe before we hopped on. When I started this podcast, my deal with my business coach was to do 10 minutes of work a day.
yeah,
And I started getting clear on what I wanted to do and got on with it with the symptoms, crying, walking around the block for
yeah.
10 minutes in the morning, and then slowly but surely the body starts getting better. But one thing I wanted to ask you about the letting go process, um, what did that look like? Was it like, I've heard you say that you used your values and
Yep.
chose, interests that you have, but was it like one thing at a time, or did you just like white knuckle and let go
Yeah.
all at once type of thing?
It was
How
one
did
thing
you
at
how
a
do you know
time.
what to let go of too? That's what
Yeah, it was one thing at a time, and
yeah.
it was white knuckling is not how it works. This is where a lot of people get caught up to is they think I'm doing the right things and I'm moving forward in life, but they're white knuckling through it. And so it really letting go, surrender, acceptance, and all that stuff are the key and the foundation of moving forward as well. So what that looked like for me was uh, redirecting my focus and attention, like I said, towards my values. So I created kind of like a routine for myself that would shift me out of that negative victim mindset mentality that I used to wake up in. You know, as soon as I would wake up, body scanning, checking for symptoms, all of that, I was just like, I'm done with that. I'm done
Yeah.
with that. When I started going in that direction, it was like, no thanks. I'm going to focus my attention towards whatever else, the present moment, gratitude, um, just thinking about hobbies and activities that I want to do while I'm trying to heal. So for me, it was like a slow process over time. So at first I was like, let me just start living, let me start redirecting my focus, let me start, I was doing some of the right things. Now I was just like, let me let go. So I started, the first thing I did, I was like, I got a part-time job delivering pizzas like 8 hours a week, um, just to see if I could do it. I was still dealing with all of the symptoms, but I was like, let me just see it. I got to start moving forward in life. Cool. I was able to do it. It sucked sometimes. I didn't feel good sometimes, but I was able to do it. And then every time I did something like that, it was like my body was like would reward me as well. It was like I would show myself that I was capable of doing more than I realized, and my body was like, "Oh yeah, you're capable." And then it was just like these little steps forward, where it was like, "Okay, let me take one college course at a community college now while working. Cool, I can do that too. Now let me take two and work at the same time. All right, cool. And all the while, I'm kind of like reintegrating back into life, seeing friends, engaging in hobbies again, getting back into like little things that bring me joy, all while, I still have my healing, my healthy routine that is not, it's not focused on healing. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna do the right things for my body and I'm gonna let go. And then it was just like, all right, wow, this is all working. I feel my body getting better. Yes, I still have symptoms, but the symptoms are more manageable. And honestly, I've learned to live with them better. Like they're not keeping me chained to my bed or my couch anymore. And then I just started like there was like these little leaps of faith, where I was like, okay, I'm capable of doing what I'm doing, and that's when I like signed back up for college full time, and then the first semester of college full time, I would have symptoms here and there, and some days it was a little bit more challenging, but when that happened, I didn't freak out like I did in the past. It was like I stopped that freaking out process of like that we all do when we're struggling with chronic illness. It's like we just want to get rid of the symptoms, and it's just like, all right, this is what it is. I've made this plan to just accept my situation as it is, as it comes. And that's where I think a lot of people also struggle with the acceptance piece or the allowing piece. It's not a one-time thing. It's something you continually do, and you just like you're like, okay, when you find yourself kind of getting caught up in stress and worry, it's like, okay, come back to the present moment. This is okay. This is okay as it is. Allow yourself to truly feel like shit. Like that's what I would do, but not let the feeling like shit control and dominate my focus and my thoughts, and still move forward gently, not white knuckle, just like, all right, well, okay. My body's asking for a little bit more rest, but I'm still going to, do some of the right things for me. I'm still going to live. I'm still going to coexist with my symptoms. I might rest a bit more, but it wasn't like now I give myself a chance to just lay in bed and mope and commiserate. No, 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 no. Like that wasn't it. That wasn't the way either. It was like that balance, learning that balance of accept, surrender, and then still take little bits of action on
Yeah,
those
do,
days.
do life with the
Yeah,
symptoms.
yeah,
When we're in that collapsed, sensitized, dysregulated, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
state, our capacity is just like razor thin.
yeah,
And I know we both get a lot of questions about how do I increase my capacity, and what you just outlined is the
yeah.
medicine. It's not like some special exercise, right? It's we heal through new experiences and
Exactly.
not through force and hacking. What I see in my mind as you're describing this is almost like putting a penny in a jar, right?
Yep.
Every day you get to vote for who you want to be, right? And you got to do that with the symptoms, and you want to get clear on what do I really care about? What's important to me? Exercise, being healthy, spending time with friends and family, being present, having fun today. How can I do those things with the symptoms? And it's funny how all the biohacking and the quick fixes lead to fragility.
Hmm.
They lead to a system that has no capacity. And the way you update the system and create capacity is doing new stuff and seeing, did you die? I think that's
Yeah.
an old CrossFit thing that we would say. It's like, hey, the workout sucks today, but did you die? Like, no,
Mm,
I didn't die. And every time the brain sees that, the brain's used to you laying in bed and getting worse and worse and waiting for
yeah.
you're anticipating and you're catastrophizing and you're waking up and your whole body's on fire. And so you it's interesting too, because I was thinking this as you're talking. It's like we use what we do when we're in chronic illness is we learn how to scan our body and track really well, and we almost that becomes kind of a superpower. But we have to, here comes your thing, flip it on its head, because
Yep.
we can't use it to fix ourselves anymore, but we can use our higher brain to observe our patterns and get really clear on, how am I fixing, how am I forcing, how
Hmm.
am I fighting, how am I fearing all these, the John Sarno 7 F's or whatever, because that
Yeah.
awareness is a big part of the journey. So is education. And we have to
Yep.
build up enough education and awareness and do it enough that we get fucking sick and tired of it. And we go, all right, I'm gonna do something different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go lift some weights today. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
a part-time job and deliver some pizzas. And every time you come home and don't die, that's capacity.
Exactly. You show your body safety through action. You show your nervous system safety and healing through new experiences through showing yourself. And there's not a like right formula for it. And there's not a right or wrong way. And often sometimes it's like little things at first. Like again, there were times when my nervous system was so shot, like going to the gym and doing a full workout routine was not possible, or going and putting myself like at a concert or traveling, just like my nervous system was so fried I could barely watch TV. But it was like, okay, I'm going to show myself safety. I'm going to go on this walk. I'm going to go in the park, go to the park. I'm going to go, talk to a friend or something like that. And it's just like these little things like add up. This is where a lot of people get caught up too. It's like, if I can't be perfect with it, if I can't do what I used to do right now, it's not enough. So I'm just going to lay here. It's like, no, you can always show your body safety and your nervous system safety through action in multiple ways. Even if it is like you do want to start exercising, but you can't do a full exercise routine. Well, you can do a minute. You can pick up a couple weights, you can stretch, you can do some like yoga or whatever. Or if like you're scared to like leave your house, I don't, a lot of people become agoraphobic because of their symptoms. It's like, oh, I can't go see my friend. It's like, but can you go take a walk down the street, down the block, and show your body a new experience, and your nervous system and your brain a new experience that will then register that new experience as safety. And it goes hand in hand. It's like that, it's you kind of the action comes first, healing comes second. A lot of people want the other way around where it's like, I'll do once my nervous system feels safe. And it's like your nervous system will start to feel safe after you start
Your
doing.
nervous system has never felt safe in your life. You think you're gonna click your fingers and it's gonna
Yeah.
happen overnight. Like,
Yeah,
man, my
exactly.
my first capacity increase happened by accident.
Mm,
I had a buddy over. We were splitting wood. It was Sunday football, and I was cooking on the grill. And I said, "Hey, you want to come over and hang out?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You want to get a workout in?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "So when he got there, I said, cool, we're gonna be busting wood today." Now, what a good friend, right? Put him to work.
yeah.
But I set a timer for 15 minutes, and we started busting wood, and we're having a good time. I had just started my mentor Irene Lyons' Smart Body, Smart Mind program,
Mm,
and I was building capacity through orienting and present moment type stuff. And that I'd probably been doing that for about a month, and I didn't actually set the timer. I thought I did, but I looked down and I'd been 45 minutes and I froze, and I was waiting for like a wave of panic or like
yeah, yeah.
fatigue that would usually hit me, and it didn't. And it's like, oh, so I created a new experience by accident. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's usually what happens too with people is you get those experiences where you have to do something, or you try something, and then your body shows you like, oh, you were capable of it. And it's almost like this weird, holy shit, I didn't think I was able to do this, and I was able to do it just fine. And now I actually kind of feel better afterwards. It's like, your body rewards you with like these, it's like whether it's endorphins or, serotonin or real dopamine or whatever, you kind of get that. And I've had that experience so much in my journey where it's just like, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this at all. Is it kind of, I feels kind of crazy that I'm even going to try this. And I would even like give myself an out, like if I can't, I'll turn around. Like I'll just do it. I'll leave or whatever. And then I would like do some of these things, whether it was going and seeing friends or um, trying engaging in some physical activity, whether it was skateboarding, whether it was lifting weights again, and just trying these things. And then I would do it, and I would start feeling better. And I'm like, this is weird. Like I
Yeah,
didn't even, you know,
it's
I
it's
thought I was,
it's ass backwards than the
yeah,
effort and force that we learned,
yeah.
hacking and stuff like that.
Exactly. And it wasn't, and this is where like, we talked about it at the earlier, is like it wasn't white knuckling. It was like looking at this as just like, I'm gonna just try it as an experiment. That takes that white knuckling out of it versus I have to do this. It's just I'm gonna try. I'm
Yeah,
gonna see what it's like. It's like I'm gonna see if I'm capable.
yeah,
And if I'm not, it's okay to like stop, or it's okay to, not do it, but I'm just gonna try. And when you shift the energy from I have to do this. It has to be perfect, to just let me just see, let me just try. It takes that pressure off, and then now it's your body rewards you, and this is where I think a lot of people also miss that sort of nuance of sort of incremental training is like, how do I know I'm white knuckling? It's like, are you pressuring yourself to have an expectation or have it be a certain way? Or are you just giving yourself some grace to just try and attempt? And some of healing, I'm sure you experience this too, is failing, is like, trying it and you're just like, it's not today. But you don't just give up there. You're just like, all right, I'll give it another attempt, another day.
Mm-hmm.
But
The old way I used to do it was like putting a lot of pressure and force on myself, putting a
yeah,
lot of expectation, anticipation on it, getting very worked up. And then when it didn't happen, I would shame myself. And then also going on like a scavenger hunt and going down all these rabbit holes and
yeah,
getting very intellectualization, like staying in my head about what's going on, thinking that felt productive. And that was a lot of effort. And that's a lot of energy if you think about it, right?
hmm,
And what I tell people, and this is something I had to learn the hard way. First I got into trauma work big time, and I thought, oh, I got a list of traumas, brother. Like I got
yeah,
100 of them. Like, which one do you want to go at first? Let's go at the hardest and the heaviest one. And really, that can kick your ass because you don't have the capacity to sit in
mm,
that type of stuff. And that's where a lot of therapy and modalities that people don't understand, sensitization, I would say, then now you're just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at the nervous system, and you're
yeah,
reinforcing the OCD, and you're going way outside of capacity. And the thing that really helped me is like, dude, you don't have to go looking for this stuff. The nervous system is the map. It gives
mm,
you layups. There is no, I don't come in with a list. That's going back into the old pattern. That's trying to
yeah,
figure it out and fix it. But if I can just learn to just be with my body, not scan my body, be with it, the pattern will come up. Like for me, I had my fatigue is so much better than it was. Um, I think the last time I experienced fatigue was maybe a month ago. And now that has resolved, hopefully, I don't know, it could come back. It really doesn't matter to me
yeah,
anymore. Now I've got some gut stuff coming up. And it's like I went into therapy yesterday and I said, you know what? I said it swims like a fish, it looks like a fish. This is the same thing. And it's so interesting because it's like I don't know if symptoms continue to change as we heal, but it's like the next priority comes up. And I like Helmet talks about this. I'm gonna have him on the podcast soon about like all these apps are open and we got to close the app. So it's
hmm,
almost like these alarms were going off in the background the whole time, and we're trying to fix them all at once. And now, can I slow down and just meet the moment, meet
yeah.
what's here, trust my nervous system, build safety through trust and meeting what is here instead of chasing some rabbit again?
Exactly. And it also like you said, it's changing the meaning of what these symptoms are. Because a lot of people, and myself included, for years, is you assign a meaning unintentionally to the symptoms. Oh, for in the case of like Lyme disease, and this is what I talk, oh, I have, Lyme bacteria in my brain. Oh, I have this going on, or maybe this is active, or maybe my Bartonella is flaring, or whatever. These are labels and meaning that you're assigning to the symptoms. And then even in the case of, nervous system stuff, people will assign a meaning to it. Oh, now, I've talked about this before, like dysregulation and sensitization
Yes,
can
let's talk
also,
about that. Let's talk about
yeah,
that.
you can also assign a meaning, and that can be, another label and another crutch that keeps you stuck versus like, look, it's just my body healing. This is my nervous system healing. And this is where a lot of people unintentionally assign these meanings to their symptoms. Oh, my nervous system's sensitized or dysregulated, and this is why I have these symptoms. And now I need to tread lightly. I need to
It's like we
be,
almost
yeah,
load the gun with information and then point it at ourselves. Oh,
yeah,
I'm in freeze. I'm in dorsal right now. I'm in I'm in sensitization, I'm dysregulated, and it's all saying I'm a victim and something's
Yep.
wrong with me.
Hmm.
It's a
Exactly.
it's a trap. I heard you do that post yesterday. It was really good.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can all be a trap. There's nothing wrong with having the awareness. I think sometimes it's good to have the awareness. Um, But I didn't heal with the awareness of the nervous system the first time that I healed. Now I have tons more of awareness, and that's great and all, but it doesn't make a difference one iota if you're gonna heal if you have the awareness of like I'm in freeze or I'm in fight or flight or I'm in fawn or like you said, it all becomes something another thing to blame. Oh,
Yes.
this is why I'm here. This is where I'm at. This is why my symptoms are this. And instead of, doing that, it's like, okay, this is where I'm at. What is my body asking? What is my body needing right now? Not as what is my nervous system telling me to do, because the nervous system going to tell you to do a certain thing. And this
And
is
it's
where,
going to be loud, and it's
yeah,
going to be urgent if the
yeah,
nervous system's telling you, and that's how you can start to notice these
yeah,
patterns. But the wisdom that comes through, it's soft. Intuition is
exactly.
soft. Yeah.
Exactly. Like your nervous system, when you're stuck in fight or flight, is telling you, fight, flight. So it's going to have all of these things, and then you're going to get caught up in your head and want to do all the, want to pace and want to scan and body scan and symptom check and stress and worry. And it's like, okay, well, this is what you actually need to do is calm yourself and recognize that your body just needs safety. And so I always like tell people it's like you got to stop listening to your nervous system state and letting that drive your actions. You actually have to do the opposite, truthfully. You
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Is,
So,
is it intuition,
yeah.
or is it hypervigilance that's talking?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
That's
mean? It's easy to get those two confused, and then you
hmm
got all this information out on the social media and stuff like that that's reinforcing. Oh, you could just if you that's all your feed is. You pick your flavor of the day and you diagnose yourself a different way.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's information overload.
Mm-hmm.
Information overload, and it actually is not what you need. Part of healing is getting out of this brain. The thing is, like, I talk a lot more about the spiritual and the more psychology aspects of healing because I think that's what I learned and what ultimately helped me. I didn't learn from DNRS or these programs. I learned from psychology textbooks and these like spiritual textbooks. But like learning to get out of my brain and just back into my body, back into the present moment, was some of the biggest things that I learned to heal. And like a lot of
Do
people
you,
don't want to hear
Joe,
that.
do you mean like when you say out of your head into your body? Were you having like relentless ruminating thoughts
Yeah.
telling you to do something? So tell like what was something that was super helpful for you? If someone
Yeah.
in the
So,
room is listening and their thoughts are on repeat, how do
yeah.
we drop into the body?
So this is where you recognize that you're not your thoughts. Goes into the spiritual aspect and the psychology aspect of it, whether it's, you want to hear from someone like, Buddha or whatever. This is like where I learned that like you're not your thoughts, they're automatic thoughts. Now I know why they're automatic. They're also often driven by your nervous system state, trying to protect you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're not your thoughts. You need to recognize that. Um, and from like a psychology lens, this makes sense as well. Like your brain thinks 50,000 thoughts a day, and a lot of them are automatic based on your past programming and all these things. So it's not, you can't control your thoughts. So it's just recognizing that these thoughts are there and they're going to pass, they're going to come up. It's do you believe those thoughts and do you follow them
Follow them.
down
Yeah.
into a story about what it means? And this
Yeah.
is where like a lot of what I learned psychology wise really helped me. I mean, it's even within like the ACT stuff that I talk about is, you got to kind of step back and be that sort of awareness. Like these thoughts are here and then not follow them. Not follow them because this is where a lot of people get caught up. These thoughts mean something, and then unconsciously follow them into this story about their symptoms, about what it means. and then they're lost in the thoughts, in the state. The thoughts are driving the state is driving the thoughts, and the only thing that you can do in that moment is detach from the thoughts. Not stop thinking. You cannot stop thinking. You can,
Stopping them's like making a river stop.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is where I don't like, some of the brain retraining programs that tell you to like stop your thoughts. Like, good luck with that. That's not going to happen.
That feels like a ton of
Yeah.
energy and resistance. Um, so what's the shift then? If someone's like struggling with that and they're trying to stop the river with their hands,
Yep.
how can they not stop them but not follow them?
Presence, man. Practices and presence, honestly.
Yeah.
And this is presence and acceptance go hand in hand. This is where, you can do things to get you back into your body. And there's multiple ways to get back into your body. It can be physical things, like you can do something physical.
Yeah.
Just think about, whenever you're playing sports. You're not stuck in your head, man. You are focused on the present moment, And same with me, like you're focused on the task at hand. Obviously, when you're sick, you can't just go play a sport, but you can do something a little bit physical, whether that's walking, whether that's stretching, whether that's yoga, whether that's qigong, any of those things. Or you could go be outside, sit in your yard, and do some orienting practices and breathing practices that pull you into the present moment, out of your head. Just focus on your external surroundings, kind of label the external surroundings, like what you're seeing, what you're noticing.
You're
Um,
orienting to safety
yep.
by being present in the moment. I can be here on this podcast. I could be nervous. I could
Mhm.
have symptoms flaring. And if I look around, I'm safe and everything's cool. And so it's
Exactly.
almost like you're pendulating between what's uncomfortable and what feels safe and then titrating that a little bit. And it's like not to make it go away, but
Yeah.
to just, that's a drop of safety.
Exactly. When you're present, you're showing your body safety, and it
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. It's hard. This is a practice like anything else. It's your brain is going to want to pull you out of the present moment and try to get you to follow a story. And part of the practice of presence is like, do I follow that, or do I just say no, thanks? I'm gonna come back to here, and I'm gonna focus on what I'm doing. This is like mindfulness. Again, like a lot of these programs uh like DNRS and all these things. There's so many other like whether it's psychology teachers, John Kabat-Zinn.
Don't know that
Um,
name.
Okay, he's another one like OG, like John Sarno or all these people that talk about mindfulness for overcoming like chronic pain and chronic anxiety, mental health issues and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of other people that talked about this for years, decades before, DNRS ever existed or anything like that. So that's where I read a lot of that type of stuff, and it really applied, and it really helped me um, come back and understand, like, oh, this is actually what I need to do. Not some crazy magical formula and trying to figure all out healing.
Oh, yeah.
It's some of the most simple practices. It's hard, like we talked about, because your brain and your body are in that heightened state. The alarms are going off, the symptoms are, flying, and everything is uncomfortable, but when you do something simple like coming back to the present moment and letting your thoughts just kind of go off on their own and just being the conscious observer, the witness of like, okay, these thoughts are going. Thanks, brain. That's where you can kind of use like a thing that I learned even from like ACT teachings is like, hey, thanks, brain. I'm not going to follow you down that path. I appreciate you trying to
Yeah.
protect me, get me to follow this story. And then you just come back to focusing on the present moment, mindfulness, activities. And these practices ultimately what building safety. And like I said, there's so many ways to do it, whether it's physical, or whether it's just simply doing these orienting practices. You can like sit there and just feel your body sitting where you are. Um, Focus on being out in nature. Like I always tell people too, I don't know about you, like it is so hard to heal in the four walls of your house because this is where you can get caught more up in your brain, and everything is so familiar that you need to be out. even if it's in your front yard,
Dude,
backyard.
I used to lay in the front yard. When I got really in, I still love trauma work. When I
Yeah.
was in trauma work, but I was so sensitized that
Yep.
that's not what my system needed. I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about dysregulated and sensitized in a minute, but
Yep.
I was getting blown out of my socks
Hmm.
doing shock trauma work and early developmental trauma work when my system just needed to accept and allow.
Yep.
And I would just, that's what I would do. The whole world around me got dark. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that literally, like the lights turned off and my system was so in collapse that all I could do, and that's where if you've done too much trauma work, if you're
Mm.
in this state, you're just learning, maybe you don't have a routine yet, going and laying in the yard, grounding, earthing, drinking clean water, electrolytes, good food, watching funny movies, letting go of the healing process, like it's not doing more.
Exactly. Honestly, dude, one of the best things that I did for my healing when I was in that like collapsed nervous system state, I would just go to a park. I didn't care if it was middle of winter, 30, 40 degrees out, or it was hot out. I would just go there and I would sit at a park in the grass for hours.
Yeah.
It was like one of the only things where I'd shut out all technology, or I would listen to like relaxing stuff, or I would just be present at the park. And that was like all I could do, and that was some of the best things that I did for my nervous system early on was just
Your,
that.
your nervous system likes boring,
Yeah.
repetitive shit. Not, but here's the thing too. This is the ultimate red pill this work is because
Yep.
you're going to wake up and see why you're so damn dysregulated, sensitized. Well, it's society and it's created to control you, to put you in constant stress through stimulation, through
Hmm.
lack, through victim mentality, poison food, poison water, over
Yep.
lights, fake environments, bullshit. You got to make money, you got to be productive,
Yep.
social media, pharmaceuticals to shut the symptoms up. Like it's a motherfucker to see it all, right? And like that
So
is
true.
why a big part of why your nervous system is dysregulated, on top of whatever circumstances and conditioning that you have from childhood that's telling you that you got to work harder and effort and put a lot of pressure on yourself to heal. And it's like, yeah, dude, sitting, going to nature, like our ancestors, they didn't work hard. They didn't even exercise. They had to go hunt food when they wanted to. They grew some food and they, hopefully didn't have to go to war, right? Like it was so much simpler. And now we have all this stimulation. And I just keep going back to it makes so much sense, the heel flip thing, because it's like, yeah, flip it on its head, dude. Like
Yeah.
healing is not what you think it is. It actually is causing more dysregulation. And sitting in the park is probably one of the best things you can do.
Exactly. I tell all of like my clients and the people I work with, I'm like, dude, you need to get the hell outside like every day. Every day, it's going to be so healthy for you. It's going to be some of the best things that you can do for your nervous system, just being outside in nature. And I sound like a hippie, but you know what I mean? But
Sure,
like
be a
it's
hippie,
just,
man. Be a hippie. Whatever
yeah.
that if that means going out in nature, so be it. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the best things you can do.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I just, it's everyone wants to make healing complicated. It really doesn't. And I want to go back to what you were saying too, because when you get these chronic illnesses and these symptoms, eventually you're going to wake up. It forces you to wake the hell up to everything in life that is contributing to keeping you stuck and sick. And you get a choice eventually to choose differently. And that's part of healing. Like instead of, you know, clicking on the news and watching all the things that are going wrong in the world, it's like you turn that off and and talk to your neighbor, because it actually makes your nervous system feel better. Like when you,
Ventral vagal, baby,
yeah,
social engagement. That's one of the best things that I can do for my nervous system. Being on the podcast and just talking about things I'm interested in. I thought I was like trying to get more information on how to heal, and it ended up being just connecting with people that are
yeah,
like yourself that have been through what I've been through, and then realizing I just want to help people and ultimately let go of healing.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so when your nervous system's so dysregulated, it's like, before you get sick, your nervous system is always kind of telling you, like giving you hints and clues through stress hormones and stuff like that. But we just kind of ignore the clues. But when you're so sensitized, dysregulated, when all of your symptoms are in your face, you get like a window into like these little micro changes based off of what you think, what actions you do, your beliefs, your behaviors that give you clues is like not here or like yes, go in this direction. So like, it's people don't really pay attention to this, but it's like you may be working a job that is just draining your energy, and you'll feel it when you're working your job, and like that could be part of like your healing as well as like, all right, well, this is like draining my nervous system energy and like making me feel worse. Maybe it's part of me exploring something new. It doesn't mean you have to like quit your job and just go live in the woods, but exploring something new and asking yourself like, why is this draining me? Maybe I need to also set a boundary with my work, that I haven't done, and ask for help. It might not just be leaving the job. It just might be like things like that. And that's what I've had to do as I've healed multiple times, healed and relapsed multiple times is like it requires some looking at, all right, what this is making me feel like shit. Why is this making me feel like shit from a is it Lyme or is it mold or whatever, but like this is making me feel like shit because I'm engaging with some like maybe some toxicity or not setting boundaries, or maybe I'm even people pleasing, or maybe I'm just living out of alignment, or maybe I'm putting, like you said, bad shit in my body. This is where I also, I don't just tell people to do a few silly practices and go back to their old life. I'm like, dude, you're gonna heal and create a new life that is gonna support health for the rest of your life. And that does include nutrition. That does include movement. Like I don't see people healing that just like do some brain retraining practices and go back to their old life. And if they do, they often end up relapsing, and that's what I did. I healed, then I started going back to unhealthy lifestyle, stress, not doing the right things for my body, and then obviously COVID 4 years ago is what caused me to relapse, and that's where it was like, oh, okay, like I have to start practicing a lot of the things that I preached and did years prior that I forgot, and shift my lifestyle again. It's not about going back, it's about going forward in a healthier way and doing some of the right things, letting go of a lot of the wrong things. And that includes lifestyle practices and
I got
habits
a
that are
question
just,
for you on that
yeah.
right there because, and I totally agree and want to echo you on trauma and this type of nervous system dysregulation happens when we're not congruent with ourselves.
Hmm.
And then all these survival responses get in. So we're perfect, people pleasing, intellectualization, all or nothing, blah, 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 blah. And I agree with you too that healing is about checking the boxes, if you will. Love a movement practice, love clean eating, love social engagement and friends, and following getting clear on values and doing things that you love. And I get what I've even noticed in myself. This is probably more a personal question. Is like I had this story, like I think the first time I had anxiety, I worked with a coach, and he brought me this thing that said I was gluten intolerant. He brought me a 6 pack of gluten free beer. I used to grow hops and brew my own beer. Love beer. Love having beer
Yeah.
with the boys. Right.
Same.
I like that more than like getting drunk. I think I liked getting drunk in college,
Yeah.
and now it's like I just want to have a couple beers with the guys. I love me a Guinness.
Mm.
And so he came to me and he said, "Hey, here's your gluten-free beer." And I connected that with this is why you have anxiety, and now I need to be perfect. So I went into perfect diet, perfect food,
Mm.
perfect routine, control, and then shame. So I'd keep myself in this loop.
Hmm.
And as I'm healing and coming out of that, I'm doing life again.
Yeah.
And I'm having pizza. I'm having beer. It's
Mm.
really more of like a 80-20 thing for me. I'm
Yeah.
super dialed in. And then I fuck off 20% of the time. And those beliefs that I got to be perfect they come up, and I've learned this last couple of weeks, my system would just go into this
Hmm.
constriction because I'm not being perfect. Am I really hurting my body if I'm having a couple beers and some pizza? And so I guess my question is, how do we do these healthy routines without going back into the survival response of
Yeah.
all or nothing, black or white? Is that something you've experienced or dealt with?
Yeah, yeah, I've experienced it a lot too. I've experienced it a lot too. It's a balance, and I think for me, it's a shift out of fear into self-love. So, I was just like you. I love alcohol. I love beer specifically and love like whiskey, not just to like get drunk, but it was a pleasure thing that I had, and that, it went overboard though as well when I kind of was getting sick again. I was kind of engaging in behaviors that I knew were not loving to myself.
What's that look
So,
like?
so, for me, it was when I was working back as like an art director, and I was using like alcohol as like a distraction, as a coping mechanism, as something to do that I knew was not supporting my health overall. So I don't necessarily think like having a beer or anything like that is going to make anyone sick. But it's also the energy in which you come about it, So
Yeah.
because here's the deal, you can do things that are bringing you joy, but also harming your body at the same time. Like I said, like drinking alcohol, I was having fun. I was drinking and having fun with my friends. It was also harming my body at the same time because alcohol is a toxin, and I was filling my body with poison, but I was also engaging in a lot of stressful behaviors. So it's a kind of combination effect, that happens with a lot of people. It's not like, hey, you because you ate that pizza, it's gonna make you sick, or you drink that alcohol, it's gonna make you sick. It's like because you're engaging in people-pleasing behaviors, plus you're in that stressful environment, plus you're doing all of these, or you're staying sedentary, or you're doing these toxic behaviors. Now you're eating pizza plus drinking. It's just like your cup finally overflows.
It's
And
it's
that's the
almost like
thing.
you're masking, you're using it as a tool to numb out and
Yeah,
feel comfortable in an uncomfortable situation versus like meeting your body and
yep,
expressing that and
yeah.
working with that energy. Sounds like it's the intention behind it.
It's the intention behind it, yeah, and understanding what actually fuels health and healing. Like again, like I'll occasionally have like a glass of wine. I was just in New York last week with my friend, and we were at a wedding. I had a glass of wine then, but I didn't have a glass of wine to get drunk. A glass of wine because I'm like, hey, you know what? It's my friend's wedding. It's not that big of a deal. It didn't. There was no panic or stress over drinking a little bit. And like I said, it's that energy of fear versus love. What I will say is, for a lot of people that are struggling with like complete like nervous system shutdown, I do tell people like you got to cut the shit out for a while,
Yeah.
because I know for me, when I tried to drink, when my nervous system was like in collapse, it would just make me so much
Oh,
sicker.
I feel
And
you on that too. Yeah.
and um and that wasn't loving to my body at that time. That was actually almost like again, a coping mechanism, a way
I,
to
I
escape or
want
check
to
out.
escape these feelings, make
Yep.
them go away, even if it's just for a little bit of time.
Yep.
And then for me, what would happen back then? Because I quit drinking for many years.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's great to have a Guinness now, but I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I would say neuroplastic symptoms too. Like I was
Yeah.
so afraid of this thing, and I would try to feel comfortable in like a social situation. Maybe I felt like I didn't belong because of my symptoms. And so now that kind of goes into your example of stacking
Yeah.
all of these stressors into making the glass of wine very stressful versus
Yeah.
like, it's like almost I'm trying to disconnect versus I'm trying to connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? What's my intention here? Am I trying to like? We went on vacation last week. My wife's family loves to drink, and we got
Yeah.
after it a couple nights. But it was like so different because I connected with everybody individually. We had a
Hmm.
good time. We laughed. We got along. Where is in the past, years ago, I would be drinking to feel more comfortable, for them not to get on my nerves, or
Yeah.
whatever I felt about, cover up how I was feeling. And it is very different than what it used to be.
Exactly. And that's the difference. It's the energy behind it. With everything healing wise, it's the energy behind it. Are you healing from a lens of fear, or are you doing it from a lens of like love? And
Yeah.
that's the thing, even with like diet, nutrition. I'm big on nutrition. I'm big on fueling the body in the right way.
Same.
But you can have, and even Joe Dispenza said this, you can eat the perfect diet and still be just as sick, have all the gut issues, because it's a lot of people will do the perfect diet from a lens of fear. I have to do this to heal. If I don't eat all of this perfect diet, I'm not going to heal. That energy will never help
That's
you
it.
heal.
Yeah.
But the way I look at diet and the way I look at nutrition is like, I'm gonna fuel my body with the right stuff so that I live a long, healthy life, because I enjoy feeling good in my body. And I
Wow.
actually,
After
yeah,
20 years of feeling
yeah.
like shit, you damn right.
And I enjoy when I eat something, it making me feel good versus making me feel bad. And this is like I was saying with like nervous system dysregulation, chronic illness. Your body will tell you if this is supporting your healing or not.
Yeah.
Like if I were to go eat, some like shitty fast food like I did in the past, like but like I would be okay. It wouldn't, necessarily derail my healing or whatever, but I'm probably pretty sure it would make me feel like shit. And yeah, you'd get that quick dopamine hit from like all of that they make the food chemically addictive,
Yeah.
so it's gonna make you feel good while you're eating it. But then afterwards, I'd probably feel sluggish. I'd probably feel awful. I'd probably feel a little bit worse. It's not like it would make me have a full-blown relapse, and my body would probably be able to handle it. But I'm like, no, I would rather eat something that makes me feel good, that is going to support my health and healing. And not only that, you know all this stuff too. Like nutrition here in the US is just the worst, man. Like
Yeah.
they poison the food like to get people addicted, to make people sick and all of that. That I don't even come at it from a lens of fear, but there is just like, look, man, there's with everything that I've learned with my own health journey, how healing and health is so fragile. And even with just what I learned getting my master's in nutrition, just like how much lifestyle shifts, diet, nutrition really contribute to poor lifestyle factors, whether it's like diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, cancers, all of this stuff. That's stuff that I learned, and it's like truth and fact that I'm like, it's not just fear. It's like, look, dude, I'm gonna put the right shit in my body to
Yeah.
help my body heal.
Yeah.
And occasional thing is like not a big deal, It's not a big deal. It's about being conscious and aware, like of what is beneficial, and then choosing more of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
100%. I mean, the perfection and control and then shaming if I didn't do
Yeah.
that was a big part of mine. And I think I saw this really good post yesterday. It's talking Brian Johnson's getting lit up right now on social media. I don't know if you're seeing it. I'm talking about Brian
No,
Johnson.
I don't know who Brian
He's like
Johnson's.
tip of the spear biohacker guy.
Okay.
He looks like a damn vampire, and he thinks the sun is bad, and he
Oh my
tracks all
God.
his biomarkers and all perfect. And you go search for it when you get off.
Okay, I'll look.
But
Yeah.
basically, on one side is this crazy restriction and perfection. On the other side is like gluttony and being drunk all the time and smoking weed all day long, or eating
Really.
fast food and all that. And I think it's somewhere in the middle. And I think
Hmm.
still middle is probably 80-20 for me. I'm not
Yeah.
going to eat. I don't remember the last time I had fast food, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
but I love a cold beer. I love
Yeah.
um, I don't know what would be unhealthy. Maybe ice cream. I mean, ice
Yeah.
cream can be pretty gross in some
Yeah.
ways, but it's like it all goes back to your values and your intention. and what feels good. I think it's
Yeah.
for me, it's somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
of balance of enjoying your life and then using your values to reinforce that. And I
Yep.
mean, using what we've learned over the years about nature. I mean, if you're eating food on the outside of the grocery store or eating at a local farm, if you can grow it, you can kill it.
Yep.
That shit. Drink some
Yeah.
clean water, put some electrolytes in there, sleep,
Yep.
social engagement. I mean, it's not that hard,
It's so
but we've
simple.
become so disconnected
Hmm.
from what we need. And I think too, when we use our awareness of our nervous system to our advantage, and we can really follow our impulse on what feels good and move away from what doesn't, and limit what doesn't feel good. That's the magic sauce. It's like our
Yep.
superpower of scanning our body, of being so damn aware. That's actually it can be used as a good thing,
Yeah.
and letting go of that.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. It's letting go of the fear, letting go of the fear and letting go of the hypervigilance around symptom checking, body scanning. Everyone does that. It becomes an ingrained behavior, especially when you're chronically ill. You have to let go of that. But that doesn't mean then now just, live in the clouds and don't pay attention to your body. It's also your body's giving you clues as to what changes need to be made in life. And listening to those and just doing the right things. And it's all the combination of that. And then again,
Oh yeah.
letting go, you know. Um,
Your body, that's one of the first things I talk about my clients about is like eating healthy, not some, well, I guess we can have more of a specialized diet for somebody that's really in symptoms,
yeah.
but it's like, dude, I mean, uh, eat good food, move your body,
Hmm.
hang out with friends, and but we're just so disconnected from it. We don't even know what to eat. And like the
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
supply that we have is, it's horrible, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. In some ways you can be grateful for, and I'm grateful for the chronic illness and everything that happened because I think like it stepped in a way for me to
Yeah.
make
Saved my
some,
life, right?
yeah, it steps in a way for you to make some changes in your life. Like again, before I got sick when I was 21, I smoked cigarettes. I drank 4 to 5 nights a week, drank a lot, like to drunk blackout. I didn't care about things in life. I engaged in so many toxic behaviors to myself and just like all of that stuff that the chronic illness comes and slaps you in the face and all the symptoms, and it's just like, holy shit, I need to make some changes. And then you make changes that are beneficial for yourself. And now, like I said, I'm more mindful. I care about things that I took for granted before. I stopped doing the poor lifestyle things like drinking and smoking cigarettes, obsessively and all of that stuff. And I stopped engaging all of those toxic traits and whatever. And it's been a journey, but it's been ultimately a journey that has led me to better health than I even thought I could get after all of these chronic symptoms. Like I'm 42 years old now and I feel no different than I did before I got sick, and
Same.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I thought that when I was 42, after, especially after all of having all of these chronic symptoms and this chronic illness, that like my body would break down in all of these ways, especially when I was in the midst of the chronic illness and I felt like I was 80 years old, and having all of these symptoms. I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get back to that.
That was a big fear that
Yeah.
I've had all the time. What's it going to be like when I get older? If it sucks
Yeah.
this bad, if I'm at 25 years old, and our timelines are
Yeah.
tracked pretty closely together.
Yeah.
If I'm 40,
Yeah.
what if I feel like this much shit at 20, 25 years old? What is 40, 50, 60, 70
Yeah.
going to be like? Am I going to even make it?
Yeah. Exactly. I thought the same thing. I'm like out here going to the skate park at 42 after 20 years of dealing with chronic illness, still being able to skateboard like I'm in my, 20s. And I'm like, I didn't even think I was possible. Like, so the human body really is a miraculous healing machine and capable of healing from all of these things. I've seen so many people go from like being bedbound on their deathbed to like living better than they did before they got
Dude, I
sick.
was I was in the
Yeah.
bed. I was in the bed 5 days a week a year ago.
Yeah.
It's insane, and I was trying so hard, and I let that stuff go.
Yeah.
here's a question before we go
Yeah.
into talking about your community and how you help
Yeah.
people. I have one last kind of question,
Yeah.
kind of like an unpack thing, and it's going back to it's something I've been thinking about a lot as I have gotten more into. I mean, dude, I've been in all the spaces, right? Lately, I've found more of the brain retraining stuff, and
Mhm.
I've blended that into what I do. I like you. I don't love all of it, but the accepting and the allowing, that's it. Do what you love. Follow. Get your the things that you believe. What am I trying to say? Get your
Yeah.
values and start doing life again, right? And accept and allow symptoms. But going back to the conversation about dysregulation and sensitization,
Mhm.
I see the way that we approach in different ways, and then it changes in season is what I'm thinking. And I'm just curious what your thoughts. You don't have to agree with me, obviously, um,
Yeah.
but I think they're very similar, sensitization and dysregulation. I think sensitization is needs to be treated a little bit differently in the beginning, especially because if we try to go do trauma work
Yeah.
to regulate our nervous system, that's going to reinforce all the OCD and it's going to be
Mhm.
outside of capacity. It's going to blow you out of your socks. And what I ended up doing was shaming myself of why am I not getting better?
Yeah.
Okay. And so at that time, what really, which I've heard your routine of or some of it, and I certainly had a routine as well. When I was
Yeah.
sensitized, I let go of trying to heal trauma and I went
Yeah.
into my routine. What am I? I'll go walk in the morning. I would do accept and allow practices. I would learn to, I'd take my somatic background and I'd express what's in my body. Um, that built safety. I started to trust what
Mhm.
was going on. And now I've got to this place, and this is only 6 months, a year later, where I feel like routines. So before I say this, when we're sensitized, routine is pivotal. When we move, maybe I would say I'm 80% out of sensitization
Mhm.
right now,
Mhm.
75, something like that. It almost becomes the routine, becomes the OCD thing. To me, it feels like I'm giving a lot of time to sensations. I'm still trying to fix myself. And I think the final boss is to let go. And what I teach my clients is yeah, when symptoms come back and they're tough, maybe we do a little bit of symptom stuff. Maybe I do work with the client in a session and we do brain stuff. We work with the beliefs, we work with the sensations, we go into the body. And that's a process. But it feels like the more I do that, the more I focus on a symptom instead of just letting it be there and doing my life, it reinforces it. How do you
Mhm.
feel about routines and letting go as you've made more progress with this?
Yeah, well, I want to go back to the first thing about the dysregulation and sensitization.
Yeah,
I'm friends with some of the people that really that really talk about sensitization. I honestly, it logically all makes sense and everything like that.
same. I
Um,
agree. Yeah.
but we don't heal through logic. So you can know all the things that you want to know and feel like this is what you do to heal. I don't think there's truthfully a difference with either of them, and I don't think that there's a difference in healing with going through the lens of either of them. I don't think I don't I don't look at trauma in the same way that people do. And again, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a
Yeah, yeah.
psychologist. I've worked with a lot of therapists. I actually have someone that's in my group that is a very well-known therapist. Um, but I look at trauma from a different lens. And I don't know if you know of like Dr. Gabor Mate.
Hmm.
You know him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so trauma is not there to be figured out. It's there to be felt. So,
To be
regardless of
felt? Did
where
you
you're,
say? Did you say not figured out to be felt?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got you.
Yeah, so, a lot of people think, and this is why I don't agree with a lot of like the brain retraining practices and programs, is because there's a layer of like, trauma work that they wanna do, and they want to come at it from the lens of being in your head,
Yes.
whereas someone like Dr. Gabor Mate and a lot of people struggle with is feeling the sensations of
Yep.
in your body and processing them and letting them naturally release
Yep.
over time.
Yep.
And when you're highly in that dysregulated state, what is usually, I think, coming to the surface is a lot of that repressed trauma now
Yep.
is finally, but it's so freaking loud. And it's already all what it's doing is just asking you, can you just allow this to be there? Feel it,
Mm.
release it, and move forward. And
Yeah.
that's truly what I believe in. I don't think it's there to be figured out of like, um, going into the past and like, this is
That's
what happened.
re-traumatizing.
Yeah, re-traumatizing yourself. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
What I needed to do is I needed to allow myself to feel.
Yeah.
Just allow myself to feel.
Yeah.
When I would, when I would feel anger, anxiety, depression, when I was very young, I wouldn't allow myself to feel that. I would suppress it. And what I needed to do was when it came up, is allow myself to feel it and not judge it or shame myself or thinking that needs to be gone.
Yep.
And feel it from like a somatic sense. And this is different than body scanning for symptoms and fearing symptoms. But like when anxiety arises, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you need to just feel the sensations, whether it's the knots in the stomach, and just let them be there. This is where accept and allow and all of that stuff works. And that's the same thing, whether it's dysregulation or sensitization. I think that's been a big part of my journey in actually healing and getting past it. And that's when I talk about accepting and allowing and all that stuff. That's part of it. It's like going into the body, out of the brain into the body, feeling what needs to be felt and trusting that the body has the wisdom to release it over time, and it does on
Mhm.
its own. Um, it's hard work though.
It is
It's not
hard. It takes
comfortable.
capacity. It takes
Yeah,
a capacity to
it
do
takes
that.
capacity and takes just allowing yourself to give yourself some space to feel this stuff.
When we can trust the wave
Yep.
of activation as it comes up,
Yep.
and we find out that it's like a 2 minute ride.
Yeah.
So if I can just be with my body, because
Yeah.
I think what I did for a long time, so I love what you're saying, is that activation would start to come up and all this knowledge would kick in and go,
Yeah.
what do I do with this?
Yeah,
And it would
exactly.
feel really scary. And I heard stories about horrible shit happening when trauma started moving, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like I would resist that natural movement,
Hmm.
and it would go back into the system, which I think feels worse than, well, way worse than letting it go, but almost worse than the symptom where we started. And I
Yep.
learned that if I can just, I learned this from Simona. Do you know Simona?
Yeah. Yeah.
She helped me, like, yeah, just be with it. Like, it's almost like you just go into some inner child work type stuff, and like
Hmm.
you're like,
No.
hey, I know this sucks. I'm right here with you, brother.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. And when I
Yeah.
did that, it's like the first time I hit that peak and moved through the other side, and it's like, oh my god, I got
Yeah.
to
It's
come
just
back in to
yeah.
a window of tolerance. I got to deactivate whatever was moving. I don't need to figure it out. I don't need
Yeah.
to do it perfect. I don't
Yeah.
need to know what to do. But if I can just follow my body and my impulse and let it express itself, let the tears come, let the
Hmm.
shaking come,
Yeah.
let the getting fucking pissed come,
Yeah.
that's what it wants.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't need, I love what you're saying because it's so easy to go back. Let me go to page 35 where it says, what happens when my body starts shaking? Well, yeah, that's what happened for Lisa, right? But like this is
Yeah.
Mitch and his body, and this is
Yeah.
part of accepting, allowing leads to self trust. When we just
Exactly.
let the body complete whatever shit it wants to bring up.
Exactly. And that's the healing journey in a nutshell. This is where you don't have to go into inner child healing. The body's going to express, especially as your capacity builds and as do all these things, the body's going to express trauma through the body. And this is where, you're going to get triggered. Stress is going to come up and you're going to get triggered. And now it's just like, all right, now I understand that this is what's going on and that's it. I
Yeah,
don't need to figure it out.
yeah,
I just need to feel it, allow it to be here, move through it in a better way, versus judge, shame, suppress, all of these things. And that's what I think like part of the thing that I've learned more actually this. So part of like, getting that relapse after COVID was this layer of healing that although it was part of my healing when I was sick the first time with chronic Lyme. um, I allowed myself to feel somatically and all of this stuff. Um, I, uh, I didn't really quite understand it, and I didn't. I think I still would occasionally like suppress and all of that stuff, or just ignore. And now this time around, I'm like, okay, this is what is still kind of going in my body. These triggers are coming up, for a reason. It's not because I did something wrong or there's something wrong with my body. It's just like these things come up because there is trauma stored in the body, in the nervous system, and it's just about now handling it in a different way when it comes up, not shaming
Being
myself.
terrified of it,
Yeah,
freaking
being
out, and kind of
terrified of it.
frozen.
Yeah. And that's the difference. That's sort of what I feel. But going back to your original question, I kind of forget what we were talking about. There's something about letting go or
Oh no,
whatever.
routines. And like towards the
Oh,
end, is it
yeah.
do we maintain a routine that we do every day?
Uh,
Do we do it when they come up? Is there a period? Is there a time to let go of healing? I feel like that's the final boss.
Um, this is a question that I don't really kind of know the correct answer to. And what I will say is I still do a routine every single day that is beneficial for me. But I don't do it to try to heal myself. I
Okay.
do it because it's like I said, it's acting through self-love. Um, so every day, and I've done this for years. I meditate every day. I do like things like heart brain coherence meditations every day. I do visualization. I do like movement practices. I have my journal that I write in every day, gratitude and affirmations and all that stuff. But if I miss it, I don't. It's not like, hey, I beat myself up or anything like that. And I just think it's something that is beneficial for me every day.
Hmm.
Because here's what I will say. I don't need to do these routines really. I mean, honestly, I live a normal life. Um, but life happens. And and things happen in life, and we can always go back into that automatic default program that is hardwired in pretty much all humans. And it's that stress fear loop that can always happen if something tragic, trauma happens in your life. You can get caught up in depression, anxiety, fear, worry, panic, and all of these things, and in that negativity bias in your brain, which is like, again, why is this happening? What is going wrong with me? All of this stuff. So I'm not saying that I do this so that if things come up, I'm prepared for it, but I do it because you know, it's an act of self-love. It's giving myself time every day where I do things that are beneficial for my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, and my overall emotional well-being. And I do it because I care about myself. I want to support my body, and I don't want to. Again, we can get caught up into that negativity all throughout the day if we're sometimes not careful. Um, and so that's why I do it. I don't ever tell anyone that there's like, oh my God, you got to do this for the rest of your life or you're gonna
Yeah,
relapse or whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
absolutely.
I wish I had an answer for you. Like, I don't think anyone knows. I think it's everyone's made up in a different way. Some people, um, you know, need these type of things, and it's almost like how they're hardwired. Again, like some people almost are like
Structure to their day.
structure is good for them. I don't like structure for me is good, but I also need like flexibility within that
Same.
structure.
Spontaneity, however you say
Yeah.
the word, I can't say it. Spontaneity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like every day my routine is just a little bit different. I do some of the same things, but I give myself flexibility within it to change. And if I go on vacation or if I, doing something or I'm busy, and if I miss, a day or I'm really loose with it for a week or two, it's whatever. I've built this foundation that I always come back to the things that are beneficial for me. And so that's what I try to get people to do. But what I will say is, especially early on, people really struggle with this because it's these routines, you have to build up that habit. And now, like now that I've built up that habit, because I've been doing it for years, and it didn't take years to do, it didn't take me doing it for years to have built up that habit. Like within a few months, I've built up that habit that it's just like, it's like brushing my teeth. You know, it's like taking a shower where I don't ever feel resistance to doing it. Sometimes early on you feel resistance to doing it, but it's not because you don't, it's not good for you or anything. It's because it's foreign. So it's like doing anything new, you know, until you build that like routine, it's gonna feel uncomfortable and there is gonna be resistance. But once you kind of work through that resistance and build up new habits, then you don't have it anymore. There's never a time where I'm just like, I don't want to do this meditation. Like
And if you
honestly,
did, you give yourself permission to pick it up,
yeah,
put it down, to change it, do
yeah,
something different. I think
exactly.
that's what I
Like,
hear is like you found things that are supportive to you, that aren't
mm,
fixing, that aren't dependent on your
yep.
well-being, but things that give you energy, give you life. I have
Mhm.
things that I do like that as well, and it's like instead of holding ourselves hostage, pointing a gun to our head and saying you do this or
Yeah.
die, it's like I like this shit.
Yeah, I like it too. Like after this, you know, it's sunny out here. I'm gonna go probably to the beach. I'm gonna do probably like a quick little heart brain coherence meditation, read a book, listen to some music, and it's all because I like to do it. There's no, it's not because I don't, or it's because I feel like if I don't do it, I'm gonna be sick again. It's just like I like to do it. It's
Yeah.
energy giving. So that's
It's helpful to say that as someone like I feel like I'm a little bit behind you and looking up and going
yeah.
like, hey man, like not that I'm behind you, that sounds negative, but you're looking forward to someone who's made a lot of progress, and I've
Yeah.
seen what's possible with this
Yeah.
work in a year, and somebody that's been doing it. How long you been doing it? I know
Well,
you've been doing it
so
for 20 years, but like I'm saying
well,
like this more
yes. So, you know, I did it for years when I first got better, and then you know I let it go, all go, and I was healthy for many years. When I relapsed with long COVID, so that was beginning of 2021. It probably took me like six months or whatever to get back into this work. So I guess I've been doing it for like three and a half years now.
yeah, that sounds
Um,
about right. That's what I
you
was thinking.
know, and but I will say, you know, the first the first year, like from when I started to a year after that, my life was completely changed.
Yeah.
You know, and I always tell people that I work with or that join my class or whatever to not look like a month from now when they start or even 3 months, but look a year
That's
because
hard. That's real hard to.
yeah,
I call it the Amazon Prime of healing. Like we want it
yeah,
right now,
yeah. But
and a year is realistic.
it's realistic. Like kind of, I don't know if you were saying Helmet said like 3 years, but like maybe, but I will
Right.
say if but I will say in a year, if you start and this time next year, you know, if you started something today when you listen to this and you're consistent for a year, not through force and fear and fixing like you, again, some of these other programs will get you to do,
Yeah.
but through the lens of acceptance, surrender, and all that, and shifting your lifestyle, a year from today, you could be in a completely different state. Like when I relapsed with long COVID, um, and I was bedridden and sick, couldn't work, you know, and was struggling just to get through a day. Um, a year from that time when I started, I was back to working full time. I was back at the gym 3 to 4 times a week. I was again engaging in all the hobbies that I wanted to do, skateboarding, going and seeing friends, concerts. I still had symptoms. Didn't mean all of my symptoms were completely gone. Symptoms were way more manageable, and it wasn't just pushing through. I actually had joy again. I had happiness. I was able to live life. Now I still had went through the ups and downs, and there were times where I was like, "Ooh, this is a rough week," you know. But it wasn't like I wasn't capable of handling it, or it made me had to like lay in bed. It was just like I just had to manage the symptoms, manage my response to the symptoms.
Manage
Um,
your response to the
yeah,
symptoms. That's it.
yeah,
That's how we judge healing, guys. Is like
yeah,
not necessarily the symptoms getting better, but how am I responding to it when they flare?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Yep,
dude,
yep.
this has been incredible chatting with
Yeah.
you. Kind of funny thing for you to know is I had this kind of similar thing. It was Lyme, mold, heavy metals, metabolic issues. some improvement, starting to come out of the woods, and then car accident, long haul COVID 3 years in a row.
Jeez.
And so I would get like I could not eat after the flight. I went
Wow.
down to 140 pounds. My
Wow.
gut was just like
Yeah.
I think long haul COVID to me feels more like um, kind of like we were talking about Lyme. Like I think it just added a lot to my stress bucket and put me
Yep.
into a collapsed state.
Yep.
And every time I would heal for that for 3 years, it would be something
Yep.
else. And our timelines are so close.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So it's always great connecting with another dude, especially doing this work and
For
hearing
sure,
somebody
man.
else who's overcome so much and now helping other people. Before we hop off, tell us about your community, your
Yeah.
program, and how people can find you.
Yeah, so HealFlip, like I said, is my program. It's sort of my passion for doing what I do. So I have my main program, which is called Heal Club, and I work with people all over the world. We have 30 between 30 and 40 people in the class right now. And it's a group, it's a true community and group program. So like for people that are trying to heal doing this work, you're often left on your own. You might have a community, but it's not really a community. Like the one thing that I wanted to create was an actual community, like where people get to know one another, where I'm actively involved in helping people and getting to people to the other side of chronic illness, and where people aren't alone. And I teach all of these principles of like things that we talk about: ACT, acceptance, surrender, and then lifestyle shifts, and it's all within the lens of nervous system practices and all of that. So I teach people that. I've done over, I don't even know, 500 Zoom calls over the last 3+ years. And it's not like the other, Zoom group coaching things where it's like Q&A. That's not how I run it. Every Zoom call that I do is completely different. We do interactive practices and activities. Um, People are able to ask questions and I will answer. I talk on a specific topic every call that is different. I kind of take pulse of where the group is at. Sometimes I'm talking specifically like on acceptance, practicing an acceptance. Sometimes it's on overcoming fear. Sometimes it's like on visualization or diet or movement or whatever. And every call has been different. Um, we also have, a private WhatsApp chat where people engage, talk every day, accountability partners, all of that. So that's my main thing. And then I work with people one-on-one within the community and then select few people that are outside of the community. I'll do one-on-ones with. And then I have free support. I have my free nervous system guide, which you can get on my website, heal-flip. It's HEAL-flip.com. Again, it's just a quick little guide that can get you started on nervous system healing, that gives you a simple routine that you can start today. And then I have more in depth guides, my Heal Flip manual, which is a more in-depth guide surrounded around ACT and lifestyle changes, and then I have my gut health guide for people that are really struggling with gut health, that does talk about more in depth about nutrition, diet recipes, and all of that stuff that can help you. So I have multi levels of support. I make it all really cost effective and affordable, man. I don't know about you. The one thing that really pisses me off is there are like millionaires in this space, bro, that are making so much money off of people and charging a fortune and really not providing much healing. It's just they got a marketing team and a
It's
marketing
pretty
plan.
empty when you get in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's they just sold a dream and had a good marketing team and business coach. That really bothers me. So I want to
Oh yeah.
see people see people heal. Um, with having multi layers of affordable, programs and support. So, that's about it, man. If you guys have any questions, I'm active on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all heel flip. Different on most platforms. I think it's underscore heel flip on YouTube, heel dash flip on, uh, or it's heel dash flip on YouTube, underscore heel flip on Instagram, and then HealFlip on TikTok. Those are probably the three places I'm most active.
Right on, brother.
So
Well,
yeah,
dude, thank you so much. It's been fun chatting with you, sharing
yeah,
your journey of pain to purpose and getting that out there, trying to help people. I love that. We will definitely put your information, links to your website and program, social media links in the show notes. And people have made it this far. Thank you so much. Please give us a
yeah.
follow, a like, leave us questions and comments below. Me and Joe will pop in. He'll be tagged on here. And Joe, thanks so much for coming on, brother. It's been a quite a pleasure to talk to my brother from another mother. It feels like.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me, man. I feel like we could have talked for, 10 more hours on this stuff.
Oh,
So
dude, I
happy
had to
to,
cut it off. We'll
yeah.
definitely do a round 2 and 3 and keep supporting each other in any way
Yeah.
we can, man. So thanks so much for coming on and bye bye to everybody else.
Peace, everyone. Thanks.